Welcome in. It is day 91 and you're speaking with the Meeples Champion. And it is October 9th and yet again we're into another Halloween themed game. Now today's theme isn't Halloween necessarily, but it's definitely on that scary side, you know, the frightful side of the holiday month. And this one is dealing with murder, specifically deception, murder in Hong Kong. Now this is, a lot of people would say, just a much more updated version of the old game Clue. As a kid, Clue was one of my favorite games because it was, for back in those days, a game that did have less luck and a lot more skill involved in actually winning the game, with the exception of rolling the die, which was always horrible and no idea why they decided that'd be a part of that game. Well, Deception, Murder in Hong Kong goes in a different direction. There are roles. You're going to have three essential roles. One of them will be the person who's presenting the evidence, the forensic investigator. This person knows everything, and they're running the game. Then you have the murderer, the person who you're trying to catch. And then finally, you're going to have your investigators. And no matter how many players are playing, there'll always be somebody who's going to be the forensic scientist, somebody's the murderer, and everybody else is investigators. The concept of the game is, you're all going to get 8 cards to put in front of you, 4 of 2 different types, to present essentially the possibilities of the combination that you could have if you were the murderer. The actual murderer will have to choose one of each, and when everybody's eyes are shut, they will point to these to reveal them to the forensic scientist, letting them know what they're trying to lead everybody towards. Then they're going to pull out these large cards that they put down that they're going to be setting up the evidence from. You're going to have a location card, you're going to have lots of different weapons, you're going to have a bunch of these different pieces. And their goal is, on the first round, one by one, players are going to place out their bullets onto a different card. Once somebody chooses a card, that card is locked off. And once all of the cards have been selected, then you're going to discuss. You're going to come up with, conversation between all the investigators as well as the murderer, who they don't know is a murderer. They think it's an investigator. And once you've done enough of that, then the forensic scientist halts all the conversation and says, all right, one by one, I want you to present your argument. And each person, without being interrupted, gets to present what they think based on all these pieces of information that we've slowly gathered. Now, round 1 is the least real information. We don't truly know that these bullets are helping yet. But each person presents their information. At any point, if somebody wants to take a guess, they can. But unless they get a perfect guess, they get knocked out. So if you on the very first turn say, I think it's this person, and I pick that card, and you get one right, the person's right, the one card is right, but the second card's wrong, all the forensic scientist can say is, you're wrong. And then you're eliminated from the game. And now you're not there to help for future rounds. So instead, what you really should be doing is you do your arguments, and then the forensic scientist to end the round will draw a new card and replace one of the cards on the board. Meaning, all right, well, we had an argument about something, and whatever it was, whether it was one person, multiple people, something on that card to the forensic scientist was the least amount of information you should have been using. So they're eliminating that clue, putting on a new one, and they're selecting which word on there is going to be where the bullet goes, meaning they're giving you a direct clue. And now you do it again. You all discuss, one by one you present, and then again, the forensic investigator is going to pull out a new card, replace one of them on the board, knocking out another one of the clues you've been discussing and giving you another clue. So the forensic scientist's true ability in this game is that of the 6 pieces of information you have, they're going to be able to eliminate 2 pieces of information that you've been discussing and give you 2 direct clues. So if you can make it to round 3, everybody's still intact. Hopefully at this point, you've been able to start to build an actual case. And now people will be able to start making their guesses, and hopefully you'll be able to really wean in on somebody. Now during this, your additional piece of information you get is that there's a murderer amongst the investigators. And even if you're not sure 100% what they used, if the clues haven't given you enough, you can still pick up on the tells, on the way somebody might be directing you, and realize, okay, both times that, say, the forensic scientist got rid of a piece of information, they were a piece of information that murderer, this particular character, really pushed. And nobody else here really cared about that stuff. And that might be clues not of what was on their sheet, but maybe it was clues of this person. And if enough of you realize it and you can team up together, now you might be able to start doing combinations and trying to use the other clues and go, okay, well, these directed us to him. The clues he gave us were these two. We think that combo is enough to make us think it's definitely this set of four, this one. And now everybody just says, well, let's take a shot and basically go, I'm going to pick the one on the right that we're pretty sure of, and then I'll pick the first one. No, and then the next person goes, the same one and the second one, same one and the third one. And you might get it that way. So there's ways to get through here. It's a really interesting game. It's a lot of fun. Why don't we jump right in and talk about our 7 topics? The art of this game is really nice. I think that the box is something that it does stand out to me. It is not the greatest art in the world. I know there's a lot of dark and a lot of red, but that's kind of the point. This is a dark game. It's about murder. It's about solving a murder. It's about finding a murderer. So I feel like this sells the theme and the darkness, and to me, this being Halloween month, this is the type of game I want to pull out during that month, and this cover sells me on it. If I'm going to a store and I'm thinking like, hey, let's find a game to play for Halloween, and I see this cover, at the very least I go, oh, that'll be thematic. What is it? So I like that part. And when you open up the game itself, the cards that you have to use, whether the little cards with the information or the bigger cards, they're nicely colored. I think that they aren't necessarily going to be winning any contests or anything. You know, it's just generic items, or it's just a nicely colored, list of words. But I think that it all together really does sell this feel of there's been a murder in Hong Kong and we have to figure out what happened. So it's a thumbs up for me on the art. I really like these components. These components are just perfect for me. You essentially have 3 levels of component. You have your big cardboard pieces that are for your clue giving. Then you have your actual cards, which is where you place these out, and these are what are going to identify people, either A, for the items, or B, for your roles. And then you've got your little bullets, which is a nice token that you can use. I think they're all good quality. I think that these are the type of components that are going to last a long time, and they stand out to me. So big thumbs up on the components. This game isn't that expensive. Now, I got this game through a friend who knew I was looking for it, who so happened to find it in a Savers for like $2. So I got very lucky and got my game essentially brand new for almost nothing. However, regularly this game goes for no more than $40. You might even find this as low as $30 these days. It's been out for a while. There's a lot of other games in this genre. It's not one that's going to be battling on shelves for big pricing. So it's pretty cheap. It's definitely going to be found in Targets and in Barnes & Nobles, and you'll find it in probably 2, maybe 3 out of every 5 stores. So that's a big thumbs up for me. I think they do a great job on their pricing. This game is a game that depends on who you're playing with. And when it comes to difficulty, having a game be set up where you really have to know who you're playing with in order to enjoy it does make it interesting. Is the game itself tough? It is, but it's supposed to be. It shouldn't be easy to figure this out. You should have it be that you lose at least 1 out of every 4 games. Even going 50-50 to me is acceptable. And I think that this game, you can win, but if I won every time, it wouldn't be a good game. It needs to be losable. However, when I'm playing with people, what I think is that you can play this with a beginner. I think this game does not exclude them, but they have to be really good at being able to pick up on social cues, being able to like try to deduce who is and isn't telling them the truth at the table. And so for that reason, this game is okay for a beginner, but it may not hit great, and it's definitely not a great one for me for kids. One, I don't think they're going to be able to pick up on those social cues. Two, I don't know if most parents are going to want to have a 10-year-old sitting at a table playing a game about murder. Now, I know Clue back in the day was that, so maybe they're okay with it. Me personally, if I had a 10-year-old, I don't think I'd have an issue. My daughter is 2 and a few, 4 months, and when I think about when she turns 10, I'll probably be fine with playing this game with her. But not everybody's okay with that, and I have to judge this based on everybody, not based on myself or a couple people I know. So based on that, I feel like I have to at least not include the kids. And I feel like the beginners, you have to know the beginner has that social cue, and that may not be something you know because they're beginners. So this is more of an experienced and expert player type game. And I do think for the experts, it depends on if they get into the themes or not. If they really want to play this game in the month of October, maybe it'll work, but I don't feel it hits every time. So I don't think it's difficult, but I do think it might be hard for you to get the right group together. I love this game, and it's hard for me to get it to the table. I can't always find people who are going to enjoy it, and a lot of times the game ends up not even getting to the second round because nobody really is getting into it. So I'm going to give it a thumbs down. The replayability on this game is, honestly, again, I really like it, but I don't feel this game is very replayable. It takes a little bit to get through it. I suppose there's kind of 3 ways to look at it. One, is it a game that you're going to play year-round more than once? No. I don't think I'm going to find myself playing this on 2 or 3 different times throughout the year. 2, is it going to be replayed in the month of October? Maybe. If you're really big into playing games and you really like the October-themed games, this might be one that you can pull out multiple times. But for me, I think it'll be a one-time pull for the month, and that's it. 3, how many times do you play it in a session? For me, whenever I have played it, we've played it multiple times, specifically because whoever's playing as the forensic investigator, some people might enjoy that role, but for me, I want to play the game, and that's really directing the game. So you end up playing it usually a few times so that nobody's being forced to miss out, and that you get to kind of have a little rotation and go, okay, we got, say, 5 of us, 3 different people will be the forensic investigator at one point. We don't know who the murderer is, so if somebody ends up being the murderer all 3 times, well, that's just the luck. But the forensic investigator, we play game 1, it's random, and then game 2, we pass that card to somebody and everybody else shuffles up. And then game 3, we pass it to another person and we shuffle up again. So I do think it's replayable multiple times in the same night. So overall, I'm going to say that the replayability for this game has to be a thumbs down, because while I think it's great you can play it multiple times in a night, if you're only doing that once a year, it's not great replayability. So it's really up to, can you enjoy this game multiple times throughout the month or throughout the year? And then on top of that, when you are playing it out, do you play it multiple times at that time? If you can do that combo, now you're getting in maybe 9 games in a year, and that's acceptable to me. Your keys to victory. So at the end of the day, this game is about getting in and figuring out who the murderer is. Your keys are essentially, 1, really trying to pay attention to what little that the forensic investigator can do. They cannot point to something, use their eyes, try to give a word. They're not allowed to do that kind of communication. If they're playing right, the only thing they can do is affect that board. So you're doing your best to try to judge, what did they mean when they remove this card, when they add this, when they show this word? What are they trying to give us a clue for? 2 is trying to be able to look around and really judge the people near you and say, okay, if we're playing 5 of us, and there's the forensic investigator, and then there's the 5 of us working together, and we find that, okay, well, I know I'm not the murderer, so one of the other 4 are. You're trying to judge what they're talking about, where they're directing the conversations towards. Is somebody leading? Is somebody following? So that's another way you can try to figure out who it is by really seeing how they're conversing. And then 3 is being able to try to figure out how those clues are really being directed. Are they being directed towards what that person's speaking about, or are they being directed towards what that person's actual items are in front of them specifically? And if they're doing that, that's something you have to be aware of. So I think there are plenty of keys to victory here, and I think that they do a good job of balancing them. It's a thumbs up. Unique. This game is not unique. You have Clue back in the day. This is, as I said, to me, just an updated version of that. You've also got games like, if you want to go and play the Mysterium game, which does a little bit of a twist on this, or if you're into the Resistance, another game with hidden roles and trying to deduce people. I think it's fun, but it's not unique to me. I think that this is a game that you just have to be into this particular theme and background to enjoy it. But overall, the game is just part of a good group, and for me, this was my favorite of that group. But everybody might have different choices. So I'm going to give it a thumbs down on the unique. Overall, what do I think? I like this game. I think that if not this game, another game in its group you need to give a try to, because these are fun, different style games that allow you to have social interaction and see, how do you like playing with your family, playing with your friends, playing with your game group, playing with maybe even coworkers. Sometimes putting together a game like this can help a team at their work if they're trying to have better social interaction, because now you're trying to judge each other, and it helps you realize how people think and talk. So I think that this is a great game to pull out. If not this one, another one in its genre. Do I think it's a must-buy? No. I don't think you have to buy this game. Try it out first, or at least try a game out in the genre and make sure that you not only like a good social deduction game like this, but that you have a group that you can play with. And if you can get that combination, then this game is a huge success. But that's just my opinion. It's up to you guys to get out there, see what you think about this game, the games that are like it, and try to figure out what games are going to fit for you, like I'm trying every day here, for your spooky Halloween themes. Well, today has been day 91. We've been talking about deception, murder in Hong Kong, and you've been speaking to the Meeples Champion. Like, share, subscribe, and check down below in the description. I'll be adding in my Amazon link in case you want to pick this game up for yourself. Till next time, I'll talk to you tomorrow.